name is Neil Ackerman, and I'm here with my mom, Mary Ackerman, and she is going to talk a little bit about her experience with the Kennedy assassination in 1963. At the time, she was living in Bolivia. So thanks for doing this, Mary.
My pleasure.
So, my first question is, why were you in Bolivia in the first place?
Well, my father was career Army military in the Corps of Engineers, and he had been deployed to Bolivia in order to map out Bolivia for the very first time. And he was there working with the Bolivian government doing that.
When you were there, what was the very first reaction that your family had when you heard the news that Kennedy had been assassinated?
My sister and I knew something really big was going on because of the hushed conversations, the grim mood, behind closed doors they were. And then later that night, it was when my dad called us all together, explained that the president had been assassinated, and it was the first time I ever saw him cry. And
you have a unique perspective being in a foreign country at the time. What was the reaction of Bolivians?
We were totally surprised. I remember my parents too were surprised. We'd be walking along the streets. We lived in La Paz, the capital city, and we'd walk along the street just going shopping or whatever it is we were doing, and they would come up to us because they knew that we were Americans, and they would be sobbing and crying and telling us how sorry they were that it happened. They really loved Kennedy.
Now, what's interesting is you were 10 at the time, and even though you were just 10 years old, it seems that the Kennedy assassination left some pretty powerful memories. What do you think, what's the reason that you have such vivid memories of the Kennedy assassination?
I think that's the way it is. You have certain events that happen that are just big enough and they're etched in your memory forever. This was the first one in my life. Robert Kennedy's assassination was the second one in 1968. Or how about 9/11? You know where you were, you knew what you were doing when it happened. This was my very first event of that kind.
All right, well, thank you so much for that unique perspective, and it's really interesting to see and hear about what things were like to kind of take a step back at that time, especially in a whole different country and a whole different environment, what things were like during such a big event and such really a history-changing event that the Kennedy assassination was. Thanks.